Alright, so welcome to Mamoli Lexington Part 14. I am Rich, this is my show, RMX Models. And today, well, I guess it's time to get a little more, shall we say, anchored in reality. Alright, enough of my dad jokes. Let's go ahead and get this party started. I guess if I were to compensate for the number of kids I had, it'd be 3 times the dad jokes. Anyways, so you'll notice that I've got a bit of slow motion stuff here, but I'm voicing it over. So, reason for that is I wanted to try something new with the video format. So please tell me how you like this format. I know it's a long video, but the gist of it is, for things that are, repetitive or would need time lapse, once I've done enough to really get the point across, in the one of the corners of the screen, up pops a time lapse while I'm doing either that first build or representative build of some set of parts. And that way I can build all the pieces, like there, do all that sanding, and it doesn't take up all of your time. So if you want to tell me how that goes, it's great. By the way, I figured also, since ASMR is a thing, I might as well put a little bit of that in this video with that nice, sweet grinding sound of a file. Other than that, just a heads up. While I go and get the anchor bits, or the tops of the anchors out of that wooden thing. I'm just going to test fit them in this. But yeah, just a heads up that also might not be a video for a few more weeks than normal, just because I got to move again. Long and short, me and current landlord, wife and current landlord, not quite hitting it off so good. Alright, so bringing this out a little further so it's easier for me to get into things and, well, just to show everything. Get everything's ready for painting too. So while I sand these guys up, I noticed a little something. These need to be painted black. Those are my gun port, hinges. And these need to be painted black. It'd probably be a bit more economical for me to do them together. Yeah, but that all would have stuck better. So that is what I'm going to do. Okay, I couldn't resist. I was lazy and kept my voice recording on while I was doing that. Oh, by the way, I found a way to record and edit at the same time. Hooray! So, yeah, hopefully navigating the app. Will it cause issues, or am I going to be fine? Oh, yeah, I'll be fine. Good. Just because I'm looking at the follower while it goes and, talking about what's on there. We're just still sanding things right now, really just the anchor top sanding them so that the laser cut bits are flat. Okay, I don't think I say anything here. I think I just kind of look at the anchor a bit and then blow everything and keep going. Maybe hum a tune. Don't know. Don't care. It's in the past. Sometimes the stuff that's in the past is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a boat model here now, would we? Okay, so there's a test fit. There's a test fit I mentioned. I did that just to make sure things would go in, things would work, and that would be able to accommodate things later after painting. Anyways. And now I'm going to take this thing apart and go back to just doing the voiceover, and that's going to be where I start painting this all up. There we go. So my typical paint mix, again, is 50-50, thinner to paint or primer. And the primer I use when I'm putting paint on is the Mr. Hobby, or Mr. Color Leveling Thinner. And the reason for that is the hope that it makes things more even. It seems to work better for me. And then I use their plain thinner to clean up. I found in my experience, at least, it works both on Tamiya and on Mr. Color paints. Always test this stuff out yourself. Better you test it out on some test piece or thing you don't care about, rather than finding that it doesn't work for you on something you really like. So yeah, there I go. Just tap the bottle and shake things around. I basically made the same spiel in the original audio for this. Except, yeah, I figured I'd just do it here, voice things over. And there you go, on the time lapse, you see me painting everything, priming everything, anchors first, and then all the nice little Canon port hinges. And then, of course, I clean by spraying, into either emptying out the thing into its appropriate container, and then, or spraying it all completely, and then putting some thinner through it, and then that was the thing you saw with the little mini trash can at the very end where I was putting my gloved hand over it. Alrighty then. So now that I've painted it first, to get these anchors assembled, and you go this way, so this should slide on without hopefully too much damage. That's actually pretty good. Alright. Lift up, put on a bit of super glue, and that'll be good to go. Okay, cool. Where is the super glue? There it is. Yay. I'm surprised I actually have like such a good tip left on this thing. Normally it doesn't work like that. Again, I know I rail against the use of super glue, but it does bond to a lot of stuff. I just don't find the bond particularly strong.
Unless, of course, it's bonding to its own tip and clogging itself, which this one eventually does. Then it seems you need a goddamn angle grinder to get it off. Okay, anyway, so what you see here is I'm actually doing the gun ports themselves. These are these nice little detailed things at MV48, whatever, I think. And I grab a scalpel and I cut them out one by one by one. And this is probably the most repetitive part of the video, is getting these out and then installing them later. And you'll see me cut them out one by one by one. And then even at 50 times speed, it still takes several minutes, even showing in this nice new format. As you can see there, I start doing all the cuts and time lapse just to speed this a little bit along. Then I pop them out, and then I think is when things really start getting crazy. So again, do feel free to tell me if you like this format or if I've horribly bungled something beautiful in my channel and you're mad. Again, that is what comments are for. Both good and bad. I do try to read them all. Sometimes you just get to jam to the background music, I guess. Okay, so there we are. I'm looking at the results of this, cutting this out of the laser cut sheet, and then I realize those sides are unevenly discolored because there's little tabs that hold the doors into the sheet. And you get a similar thing with photo etch. You get that little nib. That's what the wood is there. But it makes it discolored because the laser burns its way through the wood. That's how the laser works. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking each and every side of the each gun port cover, and I'm sanding it. I did like 20 circles, I think, just to get everything down even and go from there. I am discoloring it unevenly later because super glue is not cooperative, but that's life. And as much as I hate to admit it, I am suffering from get-it-done-itis. Good news, though, is that with these Canons on, and the anchors, those get done too, spoiler alert, then now I'm at that point, I think, where I actually am able to start doing the masts, or very close to that point. So I'm sure there'll be some issues with doing some other bits too, but I'll get to that, and I'm sure I'll think of a way to make that look pretty. I'm definitely going to have to do some modifications, though, on bits of it, just to just for because I know some of the little side things that let up ropes and stuff will actually need to be moved to accommodate where the gun ports are, because the people that made this boat plant thing, right, I'm sure they did as good a job as they could. But yeah, didn't work out so good. Kind of like me trying to stay up to this background music. Oh well, hey, y'all, if y'all like to watch it just to go to sleep or just for calm background noise, that's fine. I try to spice things up, but no need to get too crazy. I don't need to end up in a straitjacket. I joke and say again, but I've actually never been institutionalized. So there we go, cutting off the little side nibs on this hinge bit, and I gotta do 2 of them per door. And I do 2 of them per door. You'll see me cut them out very carefully like this. I think this is actually pretty good, at least for me, looking at this format itself, because you can see how long it takes one run of it. And then you can see how it goes otherwise. Huh. Seems like I had a big time skip there. Oh well. Either way, we should at least be able to see one of these get done. So there I'm using the scalpel this time to cut out the photo etched Canon door hinges. And once I get 2 of them, I will take them and glue them into position on the doors. Dun, dun. I can't stand awkward silence. I hope I'm funny. I guess I could talk current events in these, but oh, hold on. Maybe the guy nicks himself. I don't remember nicking myself, so I guess I didn't. Alrighty. So, yep, nicking that again. I've noticed that the snips are definitely a much better option for photo etch. You can use a scalpel, but it's going to make things a lot harder. There's times if you can't really reach that, if you can't really reach it with the scalpel, then, or sorry, with the snips, then you have to use a scalpel on the photo etch, but you're much better off, in my opinion, using those snips wherever you can. They're meant for it and all that stuff. And then what I found also is you can actually brush off easily, because this isn't primed with metal primer, the little raised bits that these have on them for the nails or whatever that secure them to the Canon, Canon port doors. So on all of these, I've ended up scraping the paint off of those raised bits. Oh, there we go. Some much more epic music. Being that we're talking about guns, I guess it's appropriate. Naval guns in particular. This always felt to me like it had a Navy guns kind of feel, this background track. Crossing the Chasm is what it's called, in case you're wondering. I put all of these, music tracks into the credits required to by the license agreement. Not that I wouldn't do it anyway, because it's just the right thing to do, but still. Alright, and then of course we super glue this one on. And at some point soon we should be getting to where it shows all of them getting glued and assembled in rapid speed. Of course it doesn't do that. Oh well, maybe next time. So I use the tweezers to manipulate these as best as I can. And my fingernail just a little bit to help in that manipulation. Also, those are the flat-headed tweezers. I use them to bend the small pieces of photo etch up as well, trying to get it to a 90-degree angle. The instructions call for more. I did it. I think it looks fine. But again, if I were to do this all over again, I might do that differently. I might do a bunch of things differently depending. There go the snips again for the second one. Now we're all sitting through just really one instance of me going through the motions to make a Canon door. Can you believe I did this 16 times? Huh. Suddenly I feel like stopping the editing for just a second to grab a little recreational beverage to help me stomach that truth. Let's not say we did. I say, yep, there we go. As you can see again, I'm still not learning my lesson about using the scalpel and trying to use it for some little tiny precise cut. It does work a lot better than I'm giving it credit for in this application. It wasn't totally useless. It just is a bit harder than one might like. So there we go. Again, flat nose tweezers and holding it down just the tip of my nail, I think. And then folding everything around, trying to be gentle and not remove paint. On some of these, failing miserably. Thankfully, they've ended up being put under the chain, valve, whatever they are things. So that makes things easier in that front. Oh, there we go. Some nice peppy music for a change. Okay, enough of that. So now you can see again I'm taking the pointy nosed tweezers this time, getting some super glue on it. And you'll see maybe in the time lapse, you might see me just tap the pad that I got a little bit before putting it on the Canon door itself. And yeah, I may do it here even, and that's just to get excess off. I didn't do it here, I guess. I didn't think I had any excess on there. And there we go. Yep. Now soon we should be seeing me, as I mentioned before, I use that flat end both to push things better together, but also to, oh, looks like there was a little excess super glue I was able to get rid of though by using the tip. Alright. So yeah, in order to both cover up the, well, I guess I don't learn that trick just yet. That or I'm using this to clean bits up, but I think it's to reveal where those nails are. But later on, I just pressed it down with with one of the tweezer sides, and then twisted, and that took the paint off of just those top bits where the buttons are. And here we go. Now we've actually, or I've actually done it and filled them all, and it's great, and they're all in there. I think this is when I started grabbing some supplies to do something else. I'm just wondering what it was. Ah, okay, so now we're going to start putting them all on. Sounds good to me. Alright. Aim the camera. And now go ahead and start putting the things on. So yep, just counting, all the Canons to myself for whatever reason. Alright, and here we are. Now getting the first one on was a bit of a pain. Getting them all on was a bit of a pain. But it did go reasonably well. I just put super glue on the edge, so you're going to see in a sec. I guess I did it off camera. And I push it up, hold it there, try to get it to stick. In this case it fails a bit, so I use more super glue, and eventually that does the trick. I was told in school, don't take the brute force and ignorance approach, but it's always worked so well for me. It does do the job. Brute force will do the job. So yeah, there is that. Okay, guess I'm just gluing it right outside of the field of view of the camera. Think this one goes back? Guess so. Of course, I adjust the boat in order to both get it on better from my standpoint in terms of seeing it, as well as to make it a better place for you to look at where it is. And that should get it on there. Come on. Get on there, stay on there. I think it was this part where I started openly swearing. I don't know. Okay, no, I was actually pretty good this time about that. Alright. So, guess it absorbed the glue dried, or it got absorbed into the wood. So, yet again, put the glue on, stick the thing there. I eventually get my head out of my rear end as to how much glue is needed. So that's good. And as you can see clear as day now, those three little brass dots are where the tops of the quote-unquote nails or screws into the wood go. Holding it down, trying to keep it from totally falling over, and eventually gets the point. And now, as you can see in time lapse in the upper left corner of the screen, is me just going through, gluing the doors around. Sometimes I have a little trouble, sometimes I don't. And then just putting them in all the positions, and then you'll see me switch the boat side over. And there we go. Here's the other side of the boat, and I do the same thing over again. And you'll also see in a moment the rest of these cannon holes being done in time lapse as well. Again, this took a bit longer to edit. I'm not sure how I feel about it. On one hand, I feel pretty good about the the cuts going like this, because it shows everything all the actual steps taken, but it's also not like the boring, repetitive, oh, it's just in time lapse and I can barely see anything either. I think it's an improvement, but I really, if you're listening to this still, wow, you got an attention span, sir, madam, eldritch abomination. I don't know. Cool, awesome. Thanks for devoting that attention to me. I hope you continue devoting attention to me. There we go, and then there's that time lapse I just mentioned. I think this time I might have an slightly easier time of securing that gun port door. Now you see those little tooth-looking things? Yeah, those are the things I was talking about the chain valve things. Uh-oh. Okay. I play this if I do something trolly or I'm thinking something trolly. That, or maybe I just wanted to wake everybody up and disturb everybody's cat nap. Maybe I should just keep it all upbeat and crazy like this. That might keep people's attention. Oh, no! Now I know what I did. Now I know the crazy, depraved thing I did. So, yeah, the model's instructions call for a bunch of little brass eyelet screws that I must have lost or something. What do? Well, believe it or not, I used to do amateur metalsmithing, kind of as a hobby, also because I wanted to shower my girlfriend, who is now my wife, with lots of jewelry, but I didn't want to pay all that much, and I was willing to make it myself, and then, backup career, I guess, if college failed, I don't know. Point is, I learned a few useful skills, including how to use round-nose pliers to manipulate wire into doing things, like becoming a good stand-in for an eyelet screw, which is what you see me do here. I also use it later to act as a stand-in for some of the other bits for the anchors. And you'll probably see that too, when I use the round-nose pliers for that as well. So there I am, I'm just cutting the shorts, basically cutting the end off to keep the wire from giving me issues. Then I just take the round-nose pliers right at the tip of them. And I thought that had snips, but it didn't, so now I just cut a length of the wire, make it easier to work with and maneuver. And then I go ahead and now I'll wrap it, as I thought I was about to, it didn't, around the very tiny tip of that round nose section there. And that'll act as a, mandrel to get a nice round hole for the end of an eyelet. And then I can just take this little thing I've made, this little P shape, if you will, and twist part of it so it actually ends up looking like it's a brass eyelet once I've cut off the end. So there I am, just further trying to get it off. Sorry that it's out of view. There, now it's back. I'm not sure if I even do the time lapse. I might, but it's probably going to be like less than a second or two because of how fast I go relative to, normal speed and all these filming bits. Okay, let's see. Am I able to get to the end of this? Yay! Hey, did you know that this video is like almost 49 minutes long? I know! How can a guy talk that long? I don't know either. So yeah, there's the that not quite P shape now because I've centered the eyelet hole. And there we go, another the time-lapse bit. And now I cut that out, and I'll have the other one next. And then what I end up doing, as you should see, is I drill holes into the side of the boat using the pin vise where the eyelets would screw in. Oh, no, wait, I don't even do that. Sorry. I found holes from the pins previously that these little eyelets will go into that I could put glue on the end and they'd stay there. Alright, so there I am doing that, showing the camera that yes, this thing really did make that, and yes, it is tiny. Yep, checking for fit before putting a gob of super glue on the end and then sticking it back in the hole. And of course I do the same to the other side as well. There we go. and slip that right into that hole. And there we go. Yep, and there it is in time lapse, like I said, on the other side of the boat. So now's the anchors, and how to do this I agonized over for a while. And well, first I had to do the little tie arounds for some of the detail in the anchor itself, which wasn't too bad. You'll see me make a kind of slip knot circle kind of thing, so it tightens as you pull it for the first knot. Then I go around each of the ends of the string that I've pulled going in opposite directions, and then I do like a couple of double knots at the other end, or I do a single slip knot, not double knot, slip knot, sorry, like the one you saw there. And if it's a single sliding knot, then I also go ahead and add super glue. Well, I add super glue to all of them anyway, but yeah. Okay, am I trying to make people sleepy? I'm pretty sure my kids don't show up during this part of the clip. There's a reason I play this track at the end of the clip, though. My son chimes in at the end of the video when I'm doing the outro. It's cute. Alrighty. So as you can see, yep, doing the string, doing a couple wraps around before, trimming gluing it and then trimming the excess. And I repeat these for all 4 of those wraps on each of the anchors, so it's 8 total. After that, what I do is, after that is when I start working with the brass wire a bit to make some little bits of hardware related to how these are secured to the ship. And I keep going from there. So, yeah. You'll see me do another, it's called a slip knot or something, and readjust it on the screen. If I sound a little fresher and perkier now, it's because it's been yet another day of me just looking at this project sitting on my desk. It's a video here, getting it all done and edited. Editing took a lot longer this time, in part because of much bigger voiceover and longer sections of film. And because, it's almost Thanksgiving. Right, okay, so here, I'm securing it with the super glue, and I do that to all the ropes. That way it's actually got something adhesive to secure it. And there's a time lapse of me doing all the rest of these bindings. I don't know what they're called on the anchor. The instructions call for them. I think they look pretty cool. Yeah, this ship's going to follow a lot of rule of cool, kind of like the Dreadnought interior when I couldn't tell which way the things were, or that I didn't read far enough into the book for to know where all the bunks were. So here we go now. As promised, I'd be taking some brass wire and doing some hardware related to how this thing secures to the ship. And essentially it boils down to grab a piece of brass and wrap it around just an arbitrary point on the roundhouse pliers. And as you can see, it seems to be what I've done with that right there. Well, there we go. Now it runs away. I wish tweezers didn't do that. That'd make things so much easier. Oh, so if you've made it this far into the video, this is the part where I share some news with you. So, moving again. Yeah, and the reason is because, let's just say, some disagreements with the current landlord started okay, but now not so much. So yeah, they're not going to be happy about that, but I have some words, but I'm not going to disparage somebody on the internet unless they really do something to deserve it. So there we go. You also saw me doing a bunch of time-lapse stuff of adding a rope to that big brass bit. And there's the, so now we have the anchor, and it's, big rope, that attaches it, I guess, to, on its way to the bottom. And now you're going to see me working out that block and tackle that attaches to said anchor. So yeah, that's, I work around, I again grab some wire, and I fold it onto the little round nose pliers. This time what I do is I fold it on the small little end bit as you see there. And after folding it onto the small end bit, I go ahead and trim any excess and fully round it out. Then I go ahead and I put it on the then you'll see I'll put it around some thread momentarily. There we go, pressing it down so it's reasonably round and should fit. And now I go ahead and start adding the string that represents the cables or rigging of the ship, I guess, in this instance. Yep. I could definitely see a need for better music in the future of these videos. What do you think? Should I go hunting for a more varied and interesting soundtrack, or should I keep with these kind of relaxing, everyone kind of uses them type soundtracks? I don't know. That is what the comments are for. Comments, suggestions, cheap shots, secret histories of the world, I guess, conspiracy theories about snake people. I don't know. I'm just wasting time here until I put a little dab of glue, I think, into that pulley, just to make sure that the glue is going to stick. I think you even saw me working with a pin or something. And there, I gotta give it a tiny little daub of super glue that I think dries out before I can get the thing on there. Or maybe not. And there's me putting it on with the tip of a scalpel blade. So, not a pin. And the idea is just to have something that holds that piece of thread there so I can fold it all nice and good and get that kind of effect that the instructions seem to call for, which is you've got like basically rope wrapping around one way on this block and tackle setup, and it actually ends up wrapping around completely in one way, and then on the other you like tie something off like a little piece of brass wire, spun around to look like a tiny ring that is ending up being a big piece of, representing it much bigger in real life, I'm sure, a piece of metal that, fixed things to the ship somehow. And what I do then with this is, now that I have it, I wrap it around a few times to make a couple knots, just to get a little distance and definition, as well as I think that's what it actually called for in the instructions. Oh, good. Much more epic music now. Much more alert, much more awake. And there we go. And then I'll go ahead and do it another one. And then I think it's after the second one is when I put in the little brass ring that I've created. Come on. Whee! Come on. There we go. So, yep, there we go. And then I think is when I put in on the brass guy, after trying to fish him out from wherever he went. Unless he flew off the desk already and I had to make another one, which is perfectly possible. Although a couple of the long pauses in this video of like anything on the screen is quite possibly me looking on the floor for something that fell. No, we're just going to make another one. Smart move. Losing it on the floor, not worth it. Maybe the next place I live, what I should do is set up so that I've actually got a thing to do. Yeah, guys, I got funny things to do. Although I'll have a mat or something on the floor that makes it easy to see when stuff is on it. That maybe like some bright lights or something. That, or I could do another thing I thought to do, which was to actually add a kind of thin area, like duct, right in front of my bench. Like 3D printers is all a bunch of ductwork that goes into a powerful shop vac. And whenever I'm working with small fiddly bits, I turn it on, and it's a vacuum, and it's covered with pantyhose. Yeah, like legit, like the girls' clothing attire. What? If you're upset about me going to buy Playtex, you should be upset at NASA too, because ILC, the company that owns Playtex, ILC Dover made the spacesuits for Apollo. You can look at the documentary Moon Machine. Seriously, look it up. That's what they really did. Okay, that's your fun fact for the day, I guess. So yeah, and then of course, after wrapping that, putting that ring in there, and then putting a little bit of one knot there, then I put some super glue in there to keep everything nice and solid, and I want to cut this loose. And then comes attaching it to the anchor. Now again, this is me doing it in real time in front of the camera, the whole process, and then the repeated one will eventually show up at high-speed time-lapse in the corner of the screen. Another thought I've had is actually for these, lengthier bits where in time-lapse it doesn't take nearly as long because I learned how to do it the first time, or just in general, like when I show the first one on as the main view, that in the corner should be all that time, the time-lapse of the subsequent ones. So if it's a really repetitive process, it's going at light speed. If it's not a repetitive process, or it takes, they take, a lot less time, it might end up being, shown in the screen just a quarter of normal speed even, I guess. But I want to know what you think about that idea. Personally, I like the idea of time-lapse and just to save time. But, if not, that's fine. Plus, for things like this, you can actually see the full thing, and then as an add-on, the next runs of the process end up being faster and in the corner, and only, at the very end, intruding, I guess. So now that I got that attached, as you saw, I just bent the pieces of brass so that one would accept the other, and then closed them over. And now I'm just thinking of how am I going to get this to attach to the ship, and where, and how much trickery am I going to have to pull. And I'll eventually figure it out. Should probably have edited this hemming and hawing out, but I'm really, really lazy. I mean, I'm not even big enough to say I need those ads. I need that ad revenue yet. What would I even spend that 5 cents on? Heck, even if it came into millions and millions of dollars, after student loans, I could take the money and maybe buy I don't think I'd even have enough to get a Coke from the vending machine. Okay, I'm not that far in the hole. I'm very blessed, and I will eventually dig myself out, but yeah. So there I am. Did a lot of hemming and hawing, and it's all in normal speed for whatever reason. But now I'm going to go ahead and actually, start putting things together. So that's just me. I was yammering while I did this to the camera, thinking I might, talk while I was doing this, but I realized probably better if I not. That way I could swear and say whatever horrible, sick, demented things I want to the camera, and then be nice and well-spoken here. Okay, I'm not quite that crazy yet. Well, given today's world, it still seem sane, wouldn't it? Alright, anyways. So there we go. I was just measuring out how much do I really want to have this rope be. I'll eventually cut it. Because I was wondering, this wraps around this or that or the next thing, and how the heck is it going to go? And honestly, I don't want to have to deal with that confusion. So it's just going to dangle. It's a model, so it doesn't need to be secured to the ship to resist the forces of waves smashing it into the hull and then sinking it by the head. I don't think boats had watertight bulkheads back then either. Maybe they did, but I have my doubts. That is a Wikipedia check. And while I'm running that cable through and trying to think of a bunch of different ways, this is also going to be a lot of me. How exactly do I rig this? So I have a little time to go look it up. Okay, first, watertight bulkhead on a ship. Bulkhead, partition, compartment, ship, watertight subdivision. Let's see. Hey, what? Okay, that's an interesting thing. Okay, let's see. Chronology, purpose, history. Okay, so bulkhead partitions are considered to have featured Chinese junks, a type of ship, Song Dynasty, wrote this book. Had bulkhead build. Okay. Aha! Oh, cool. So Benjamin Franklin mentioned some things too about some boats. Apparently watertight bulkheads have been around for a while. I stand corrected. Thank you, Wikipedia. Yep, so I haven't gotten to the fun bit yet or just gotten barely to the fun bit yet of how I'm securing this pulley in. And by fun bit, I mean a lot of fiddly work and then some inevitable cursing and swearing was involved. But as you can see, I'm trying to, I put dabs of super glue onto the tips of one of these, and then I learned I should probably put it on both the tips of this, string. And the reason for that is just to keep it nice and stiff so you can push it through those little tiny holes. Come on. There we go. Now you see me doing it to the other side in time lapse. I think the second one went a lot easier. Come on. Yeah. I may have not done super glue in this one the first. Oh, there we go. That or it fell out after this, and then we have to do it again. I hope not. Please don't fall out. So, yeah. Actually, judging by how much time is left on this film, it's quite possible that it does fall out, and I do have to re-string it through. So yeah, that's about all there is to it, though. Now, yeah, as you see, I put it on the on that little wrap-around bit for the winch or whatever it is. And after a bunch of fiddling with the plot, the tweezers and everything, I eventually do get it the second tie off on the opposing side. That or I eventually go back to where I was trying to tie through before. Yep, trying to make a slip knot there. Please. Maybe. And I bring it closer to my eye so I can actually see it. Uh-oh. Is this where it falls through? I think it fell through on one of these, and I'm wondering where. Yay, back to the relaxing, tranquil music. Come on. And now I'm trying with a pair of tweezers. Oh, great. I need a third appendage. I need a third arm. Anybody got one to spare? There's got to be like a clamp to do this or something. Hey, we did it! Oh my god, we did it! Up. Huh. Okay, so I think here I did something. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, I know now. Eventually I did find a way to finish that after all. So, last little thing I wanted to do before pushing this video out, or to edit it, was to go ahead and make holes for the belaying pins. So what you're going to see is me taking that drill there, plugging it in, and doing a lot of drilling all those holes. Now, the problem with this belaying pin thing was like the instructions said about 1 millimeter holes, and I did that. It didn't work. Too tight. Apparently what they should have said was 1/16 of an inch, which is like 1.5875, I want to say. Yeah, it's 5875 because 3.175 millimeters is a eighth of an inch. Yeah, you can tell I work in mechanical design sense because I've got to convert those back and forth because the United States doesn't want to convert to the good set of units. Oh my, sorry. I'm sure I've mentioned my unit snobbery before, but there is actually a reason for it. It boils down to the math is easier in metric and I am lazy. There's the wife while I'm recording. There we go. Sorry about that. The missus was getting tired. I tend to do these recordings at night because, well, as y'all know, I have 3 kids and a job, and love them all to pieces, but I don't know where I find any fraction of the energy. And I'll being, sorely honest, I often am not sure if I even have enough energy, period. Oh, guess that might be a sign I'm doing it right, is if I ask if I keep doubting that I'm doing a good job. Oh, okay, so you see now I'm adding belaying pins. And yep, you'll see why I've got this in Canon D in a minute. But, yep, just adding one at a time. Now putting a little bit of glue on each of them, and then putting them into their holes. That way they'll stay in place, and then later I can rig the rope around them. And hopefully it isn't like this painful affair to get... Oh, God. Please don't be a painful affair to get in or get out. Oh, well. Alrighty. And pro tip, a mistake I make is that I don't do that rack right in front of the lifeboat, like right at the tip of it. I actually forget to do. I miss it. So, oh well, at least the others are mostly done. I couldn't do all the belaying pin racks because of where they all were. Okay, so I didn't use super glue. This I actually used wood glue. Hooray! Guess I wanted it to have a strong bond. I'm not even sure if anyone's going to make it this far. If you have, well then you, sir, madam, mother, are an absolute beast and a legend, and I hope I've entertained you or provided you with a very good 48-minute, 58-second, and whatever this 2.7 in my video editing software means. Alright. But yeah, so this is how I did the belaying pins. Alright, so now it's, as the thumbnail's probably going to say, anchored in reality, Canon's door, and, something belayed or whatever. Alright, so probably the bad time to put this in the video. Maybe I'll edit it a little bit just to, get it out of the way, but happy Thanksgiving to my audience in the U.S. and to the rest of the world. I hope you're all having a good day, and alright, well, time for the outro. I'll leave you with this nice music and me doing stuff. Peace out.
Alright, so can't believe it's been 2 weeks. Doesn't feel at first much like I did much, but then you look and you see there are now anchors. There are now gunport doors. And of course, as you saw most recently, there's all these little pins. Oh dear, looks like I missed a bunch. Well, I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm probably gonna do a bit less. And that's Jay chiming in. Those right there, buddy. Those are the gunport doors. Okay?
Those are giant guns.
Yes, they were pretty big in real life. Okay. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and put these in off the camera just because it'll be easier. And I guess it's a YouTube dance from my point of view because I'm not allowed to show the kids' faces, nor am I inclined to. So, share, share, subscribe. Hooray! Peace out for now.